everyone, I'm Erin, and welcome to the Anadarko Mailbag, where we'll be answering your questions about the oil and natural gas industry. Now, usually we answer questions from our studio, but today we're going to try something a little different.
Are you serious? You couldn't tell me we were moving locations a little sooner?
You really need to check your Twitter feed more often. We've had a lot of questions lately about how petroleum companies get oil and natural gas out of the ground. The most important way to get this oil and gas out of the ground is through a process called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking for short.
Or for really short.
No. Hydraulic fracturing is used after the drilling of the well is complete. Put simply, fracking is a process where fluid made mostly from sand and water is pumped under pressure to create hairline cracks in the rock more than a mile underground. These cracks make it easier for the oil and natural gas to leave the rock and rise to the surface through the well. Now, most of the questions we received ask how we protect our groundwater while drilling and fracking the well. Let's do an experiment to show everyone how deep below the impermeable rock layers fracking actually occurs. Are you ready, Energini?
Yeah, I will be as soon as I find out what impermeable means.
It's just a kind of rock that doesn't let anything pass through it. That's what trapped the oil and natural gas deep underground in the first place. So, let's get to work. First, we're gonna need a long stretch of road. This road will represent the distance we drill underground to get to the place where we begin fracking. In this case, we're going to say the distance from the surface of the earth to the point where fracking occurs is 6,000 feet. But in some cases, it can be deeper than 8,000 feet. So, we're going to see just how far 6,000 feet really is and how that distance helps protect our groundwater while we're fracking the well.
Sounds great, but, newsflash, this video is only a few minutes long, and I tend to move in the slow lane, if you catch my drift. How are we gonna get from here to there? I mean, it's not like we have a guy off to the side in a motorcycle or something, right?
As a matter of fact...
It's almost like this was scripted ahead of time.
Our volunteer here will ride 6,000 feet at an average of 25 miles an hour. Even at that rate of speed, it'll take quite a while to travel 6,000 feet. Of course, drilling a well that deep would take months of preparation and much more time than a motorcycle ride.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. Hashtag I'm never wrong. If this guy goes 6,000 feet down the road, we won't even be able to see him. How are we gonna know when he's there? Duh.
Funny you should ask. Can you get on the back of this bike and hold on really tight?
Yeah. Why do I have to hold on really tight?
Okay, so while Energini is reporting back in real time about the distance they've gone so far, I'll tell you about what's happening in the frac process at that point. Energini, how far have you gone?
It looks to be about 500 feet, and also looks like I'm about to throw up.
Right. So, around 500 feet is typically where an aquifer is located. An aquifer is an underground pocket of water that a community uses for their neighborhoods, schools, businesses, farming, and other important things. Remember that the water is at 500 feet, but we're going much farther down. Energini, where are you now?
Well, Erin, we just passed 1,000 feet. By the way, I'm fairly certain I lost what was left of my pride around 800 feet.
Okay, 1,000 feet. So this whole time we're going down, we're following the pathway that the drilling engineers have made. The aquifer is roughly 500 feet under the surface, right? So in order to get 6,000 feet down, we have to drill through the aquifer. The fresh water in the aquifer is protected by 2 layers of steel pipe, which we call casing, and layers of cement. These layers of cement help to keep the casing in place and act as a barrier of protection for the aquifer. The large distance below the aquifer and all of these layers of metal and cement are set up to make sure the water is safe. Energini, where are you now?
the back of a bike with a guy I don't know. Pretty sure this is how my parents met.
Focus, Energini. What's the distance?
Oh, yeah, right. Looks to be 3,000 feet.
Okay, so we're only about halfway at this point. This seems like a good place to talk about the rock layers that we're going through. Most of the rock layers you see here are considered impermeable. That means that it doesn't allow fluids to go in or out, so they can't help us get the oil and natural gas out of the ground. But the kind of rock that we're looking for is called reservoir rock. That's the kind of rock that holds oil and natural gas. The most important thing about reservoir rock is that it has a high rate of porosity. Porosity means that the rock has lots and lots of microscopic holes in it, kind of like how a sponge has holes. These holes, or pores, have to be connected together so that the oil and natural gas can move from one pore to the other. Unless the oil and gas can move from pore to pore, they're going to remain stuck in the rock. Now where are you, Energini?
Aaron, it looks like we're closing in on 5,000 feet. And by the way, never smile when you're riding a motorcycle. See?
And I bet you thought there wouldn't be snacks. Okay, 5,000 feet. We're getting close to the point where we'll make our horizontal turn. What I mean is that at 6,000 feet, we don't immediately start fracking the well to collect oil and natural gas. We still have to drill sideways or horizontally for another 4,000 to 8,000 feet. And then we can begin the fracking process.
Okay, whoa! Whoa, Silver. Whoa. Alright, so here we are at 6,000 feet. Stay. Yeah, stay. Good boy. Stay. Good boy. Okay. So, for those of you keeping score at home, my butt's sore, my teeth are coated in bugs, and I'm seriously considering getting a lawyer. Let's just say we went the extra 8,000 feet, and we're ready to frack the well. What now?
Good question, for once. Controlled charges are set off, which helps us begin the process of breaking up the reservoir rock. By breaking up this rock, we are able to cause very thin fractures surrounding the wellbore, and some of these fractures are about the thickness of my hair. The fracture lengths are all different lengths due to the type of rock in the area. But even the longest fracture length would still be thousands of feet away from the water aquifer. Energini, can you see this from 6,000 feet away?
Dude, there's like no way I can see that far. Which also means you can't see what I'm doing now, huh? Huh?
I don't even want to guess. Anyways, at this point, frac fluid, made mainly from water, sand, and a small amount of chemical, is pumped down the well into the fractures to help hold open the tiny, tiny cracks that we created. Otherwise, the pressure deep underground would push these fractures together so tightly that the oil and natural gas couldn't flow up the well for us to gather and use. For more than 60 years, hydraulic fracturing has been the way that almost all wells have been safely drilled to release the oil and natural gas we all use. So remember, the multiple layers of metal and cement in the well and the thousands of feet of solid rock between the fractures and the surface help keep the water safe. Make sense, Energini?
Yes, I get it. Hydraulic fracturing is the way just about all oil and natural gas wells have been drilled for a long time, and it's done in a way that is safe for our water. You could have just said that. I'm gonna go brush my teeth for a day.